We're going to start setting up here with Norsan CEO Norberto Sánchez, who is on the call right now. Hello, Norberto, can you hear me? Hi, Norberto, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm great. We can't see you at the moment. Okay, there we go. Now we can see you. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce the event to everyone who is here. So, hello again. I hope you enjoy the little break video. So right now, we're presenting Norsan's CEO, Norberto Sánchez. He is also a GT alum. He's originally from Mexico. And, you know, ever since he graduated, he's done nothing but be an entrepreneur. He made his own company, who he's now CEO of. He is, apart from being super nice, he's, you know, very good at what he does. He has, I think, the most experience that you could ever ask anyone for regarding, you know, your own, not only startups, but also how to succeed as an international in the US. So in a couple of minutes, he's going to put a presentation and talk to you about himself. And after he's done, you're going to be able to ask any questions you have in the chat and interact with him. So be sure to, you know, be active, ask whatever questions you may have after he's done, and, you know, enjoy the presentation. Norberto, I'm going to leave it over to you.
Thank you, George. I really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank Giorgio Trentenero, you know, our treasurer for GT-SHPE, you know, for this fantastic opportunity to share my little story, you know, about this so many years of work and after graduating from Georgia Tech, you know. But also want to thank, you know, briefly Sara Araujo is our managing director for Georgia Tech alumni in Latin America. So thank you, Sarah, also for the invitation. It's really an honor to be here to share a little bit of the story of my company and myself. Again, as Giorgio was saying, you know, I was graduated from Monterrey Tech in Mexico as a mechanical electrical engineer. You know, and I'll tell you the story because, you know, it has so many ups and downs and, you know, different deviations through my life. Hopefully you can equate with some of the decisions that you face in life, and some of them are good, some of them are not that good. But the opportunity that I had was, you know, when I graduated from Monterrey Tech, you know, all my class always wanted to pursue, you know, higher education, you know. So we were a group of students from Monterrey Tech that were here in Atlanta already, studying primarily in the School of Industrial Engineering, the masters, or some of them PhDs. So it was like a little group, you know, that wanted to be together, and we have scholarships, you know, from the government of Mexico at that time, and we decided to come, you know, and that was honestly probably one of the best times in my life, enjoying the classmates, you know, relationships that will last forever and continue through so many years after that, more than 40 years. But, you know, there was a group that we came as a lot of the students that you are international students come with an F1 visa, you know, and which has, you know, many challenges. I guess, you know, some of you will ask me at the end, you know, some of those questions regarding, you know, the next steps, you know, toward, you know, if you decided to stay or you decided to go back to your countries or other countries. But my experience was related to come study. And one of the first challenges that I had is that at that time, Georgia Tech, you know, was, you know, their system was not in semesters, that was in quarters. So we can finish, you know, basically a master's. I did a master's in mechanical engineering and robotics. And I finished it in 1 year, you know, but it's not that I was super intelligent. No, that was the program, you know, it was a 1 year program. You can do your master's in any. And I finished it, you know, and so my excitement was to go back to my country and hopefully, you know, develop a career where, you know, I was started. I worked in a company, a steel mill company in Mexico, was very successful. But after that 1 year, you know, that's when some of the things that, you know, we need to be aware of our environment and what are the things that are going on in your life, you know. That's one of my main advices, you know. I experienced, you know, there was a major crisis that developed in Mexico, economic. So to be honest, I couldn't even go back to get the same job that I had before. So, you know, I was forced for the first time to make this decision to say, well, what am I going to do? I had another year of scholarship, so I decided to stay another year, and hopefully things will get better. So I stayed another year. I enrolled into the program of industrial engineering, master's in industrial engineering, which now I believe personally that I'm an IE instead of being an ME or electrical engineer. This situation really lasted for a long time. I had to basically become almost like a professional student, because I couldn't go back. There was really big economic crisis in Mexico, so the things were not getting any better. So that was the first decision, that I had to take, when I was, in tech. And so after that, I decided, to try to pursue at that, well, I think it is now still the fact that you cannot be as an F1 student visa if you're in the same level of degree, so I have to apply for the PhD program, even though that my intent was not to continue the PhD in IE. It was only to get a master's. Well, I stayed in the program. I did pretty much all the coursework, for IE, again, professional student in Georgia Tech. And at the end, I couldn't go back. The things were getting, my boss called me. He said, what, I'm losing my job. So, there was no other choice but say, well, let me look for a job here. At that time, it was President Ronald Reagan times. There was a big defense programs being developed, all the missiles in Star Wars, remember program, with the nuclear head, arms race and everything between Russia and the U.S. So there was tremendous opportunities for me to work in the, robotics, on the, servo mechanisms, to guide those missiles and things like that. The problem was that I was a Mexican, foreign person, so I couldn't apply for those positions because they needed a certain level of security clearance, which I could not get. So I started working. I looked for another job, and finally I found a work in a company that used to make propane tanks. Little, I don't know what you seen, the ones that you have in the barbecue grills, and so I used to work for that company. But if I go back to a little bit of the story, because if once that you read the story of Norsen, we started with believe it or not, a Mexican restaurant in Atlanta, in Norcross, Georgia. And he says, how in the world, you're from an engineer and, now you're selling tacos basically, and again, those are the little things that happen in your life that, mark, where you're going to, and definitely mark your life forever, and the things that you will do in the future. For me, when I was, doing the second master's, I remember that I used to see in the back of my apartment, some people playing, in soccer. They were playing soccer, and in a few, more minutes, I heard that they were saying, you're gonna laugh, they were saying some bad words in Spanish, so I said, oh, they probably Mexicans, because some of those bad words were only applied to us. So I went and talked to them, and I said, yeah, what do you do? And they said, well, we work in a Mexican restaurant across the street, and that's how my story began with the idea. Became a good friend of the owner. I never worked in a restaurant, never in my life. But, I have the opportunity to be a very good customer. I used to, at that time, there were not really that many Mexican restaurants in Atlanta, so it was a great opportunity for me to enjoy my food, or closer to my food than what I can cook, because I was not a very good cook. But anyway, that's how, the idea, or saying, oh, I remember going to this little restaurant, and used to be packed. There used to be a big line of people outside, and I said, that should be a good business, But anyway, that's how I, encountered the first experience with a restaurant, and I continued to work, going back to, after I finished the second master's, I worked for this company that transferred me to Dallas, Texas. I became manager of engineering. But in the back of my mind, I always had the opportunity or the idea to be my own boss. I says, I want to really control my destiny. I want to be able to, no matter what I open, what kind of business. Of course, I wanted to be in engineering, but at that time it was very difficult. But the investment, capital investment you have to do, what contracts do you have, what kind of consulting, if you want to do consulting, if you want to be the owner of your own destiny. So what I decided to do, invited a couple of friends, and I told them, I said, hey, what about if we open a Mexican restaurant? And they said, well, they're both engineers, both graduated from tech. As a matter of fact, one did a master's in ME, like me. He was a friend of mine that, came with me from Mexico. And the other one was an African-American friend that I met. He was a bachelor in ME in Georgia Tech, so the three of us decided to open. We opened with absolutely nothing, zero, actually $0. I asked my dad, for a $10,000 loan, which, by the way, I haven't paid yet, but we started, like this, we operated, I used to work as an engineer part-time, full-time in a company, and start working in the restaurant at night. But that time I got married. My wife used to, help me, in the restaurant also, through the lives, with a great support. Been married 38 years. And so that's how everything started. We decided to go into the restaurant business with a vision, of course, to say, hey, how we can scale this, how can we make this, a bigger business, So that was the start in our company. We decided, to get into this business. And the idea was that, now using, even people who used to go and say, what are you doing here? I mean, you're an engineer, you're from Georgia Tech, this is not, this is not really, applying your studies. And I say, well, that's what everybody thinks. At the end of the day, a restaurant, it is a manufacturing plant, where we produce gadgets, in this case, entrees, appetizers, desserts, drinks, that the shelf lifetime is very short. So we have to have inventory controls. We have to make time studies. If you go back to the basics of industrial engineering, so everything applies. To be honest, and so we decided to be an entrepreneur by force, because we needed to make it happen. We need to be able to be successful. It was very tough times because we didn't know anything about the business. Zero. I never worked in a restaurant. I can only see the front of the house, so it was a very humbling experience being able to cook on Sundays, because that's when the time where my cook or chef used to have the day off, the cook on Sundays, so poor guests that used to go and enjoy the food on Sunday, because I was a chef, but anyway, we went through, all kind of things that, a new business will start, having issues with money, of course, having issues with people. We're only 5 people, but then if one was not coming, it was a major, setback, for the operations, so it was very humbling experience, but it was fantastic, because we learned, I learned to do everything, any kind of operations or any kind of task, within a restaurant, because we didn't have enough people, we didn't have enough money to pay, So that's how we started. We continued to grow. We decided to, divide the company. At that time, one of the partners left, and he was trying to be in a hurry to be able to make money. In this business, you got to have a lot of patience. With a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses that open, they're not successful immediately. You got to take your time. You got to be ready to be very patient. So we continue 2 partners. Then eventually, we have 2 different way of thinking. So we decided to even separate between the 2. We have 2 different little couple of restaurants each. And then everything became a little bit more now thinking about a scale and creating an organization that can be sustainable, and sustainable not only economically, but sustainable through time. We need to be sure what are the differentiators, for our little, even though that it was a little restaurant, what would be the differentiator between, us and everybody else. At that time, there was formidable competition. There were restaurant chains that had 50, 30 restaurants, 20, 10. And we were only having, personally, I only had 2. So the idea was to learn, and become entrepreneur, not by only trying to create something new, but, trying to make things better, trying to learn what everybody was doing and trying to improve on those activities and, customer service, food, product offering, drink offering, and everything, became kind of like a marketing class for us. Again, we continue to grow with the single concept, these Mexican restaurants, but eventually we decided to, again, this is another, basically decisions in life that happen. Not because being visionary, when you say, hey, I'm going to envision my company to grow and I'm going to start getting away from my silo activities and then now going to other ones that make sense or so. So we were having tremendous problems with, the production of ground beef. Actually, we were at that time, Mexican restaurant used a lot of ground beef, and we said, you know what, there's a problem with the quality of ground beef that we have in our restaurants. So I decided to say, I decided that we will, produce our own ground beef. I've never been in a meat processing facility, never in my life. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anything related, to distributing, to restaurants, these, meat products or so, or how to produce it. What kind of certifications you need to have? Well, going forward, we opened this company. We call it Prime Meats, and it was only basically a company related to serve our own restaurants, and with no intention to do business with anybody else. But I think that, again, this is opportunities in life, and this is not being visionary, but, we need to be alert, and see the things around and what is leading toward maybe another business or maybe another opportunity. In our case, we have competitors coming to say, hey, we heard that guests or customers of yours are raving about the quality of your beef. Can you sell it to us? And we used to say, well, no, we don't sell to anyone else. It's only produced to us. And but that's how the business started. We start thinking, well, there's a space to be able to sell high quality ground beef and high quality products. We learned that this industry is a little bit deceiving. You might say that you have a steak or this grade of beef, and it might be something else. So we found that being honest in this business had an opportunity to grow, and had an opportunity not being the cheapest, definitely, but being a company that really does what it promises, giving you the best product or whatever you buy, will be able to provide it to you. And that's how Prime Meats started. Prime Meats, again, it wasn't really a vision like, hey, we're gonna open other businesses in another industry, adjacent to our food distribution. We decided to open Prime Meats and two business. And just running forward, that company that started with 0 sales, this year we're going to finish with $120 million in sales. And we basically distribute those products all around the East Coast of the United States to many, upscale steakhouses, of course, supermarkets, and all kind of businesses that use meat products, not only meat, beef. You also do chicken, pork, frozen seafood, and also fresh seafood. And dairy products, specialty cheeses that, we have been produced by our own private label. So this is another business that started with no the idea of saying, hey, we're gonna go to this space and study it and everything like that, So at the same time, one of the things that I encounter being an engineer, and you guys, relate to that, because we like the math, and we like we kind of a square, minded. No, we like to have processes and guides, to be able to do everything. And I saw that I had this tremendous need to learn, some of the business, courses and techniques and marketing and human factors, human capital, being able to know about more accounting, financial management. And I didn't have that. I didn't have the opportunity not to do that. I now know that Georgia Tech has a more rounded program, which is great. So you'll be able to take, cross-discipline classes, with other schools. And I really tremendously encourage. In my case, I had to do it, on the fly, because I knew that I was having major issues. We went through some financial crisis here in the US, so it was very challenging, for us, So in my case, I had the opportunity and the resources to go through a program in Harvard Business School. It's called the OPM. I think they changed the name now, but basically you go for a month away to Harvard Business School, and you have like a really condensed mini MBA, or so, that really tremendously helped me open my mind to hire properly and hire financial managers to help us in the company. Again, that was another decision in my life that now I see as one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. It took a lot of time from my family, number one. Number two, from the business, because you go away for a month and you can't communicate, because you're really busy. So that was the decision, that I did. I'm glad I did it 3 years in a row, because some of those people don't come back until another further years. But it really helped me, being able to understand more the business, along with the processes and everything that we do in each of the different, organizational divisions that we have. One of the things that, we also help us, understand, is more deeply drill down on the specific industries and look at, say, hey, I can only do this kind of basically Mexican restaurant because I'm Mexican, So, we decided to open a multi-concept restaurants. And at this point, when you look at the facility, basically, as the way I would see it, is a manufacturing plant that produces, in this case, Mexican entries. Well, the back of the business is exactly the same, whether we're producing Italian food, Asian, or any kind of food. It's exactly the same process. It's just a different chef, different menu. So right now we're a multi-concept. We have Argentina steakhouses. We have actually now, we're getting ready to open a new concept, H&W Steakhouse, which is with a New York style dash Italian concept. We have Frankie's, very successful in Duluth, Georgia. It's also a steakhouse with the theme of Frank Sinatra or so. And we have Luciano's, which are an Italian restaurant. And we're getting ready to open also some QSR, which is the Q service restaurant, similar to Moe's or Chipotle or something like that. Because we see with this pandemic, some of the things, the changes of the habits of people going to buy their food anymore. That really completely changed. So that's how you go back to industrial engineering. In my case, I think that is tremendous applicable. I think at the end of the day, when we go to school. And I always tell, I have 3 daughters, all of them graduated already from college, and some of them from the MBA. But I always tell them, going to school is like, going to the gym, and you're doing these lifting weights, 10 pounds, and then eventually 20, then eventually 30, then eventually, lifting 50 pounds weights, So this is what we do in school. In the school, what you guys are doing is preparing your mind to be able to solve any kind of problems that is possible in any kind of businesses and any kind of industries. And of course, you're going to one of the best gyms there is, which is basically Georgia Tech. It's a hell of a school, tremendous, it's hard, it's difficult, especially for the engineers, I remember. But, it is all well worth it. It is giving you the capacity, the mental capacity to solve problems. Of course, being there, you already proved that you're intelligent, Not in my times. In my times, it was easier to get in, but in your times, I know that it's very tough to get in. So So you are intelligent, so that's one thing that you can just check mark. You're intelligent. Now being able to be aware of your environment, and see what opportunities there are. You can be, an entrepreneur within a company, and that's what I really wanted to do when I wanted to come back to Mexico. But these economic times, in Mexico at that time, back in the 1981, it didn't allow me to do that. And, the rest is story. Some of the other businesses that are not really visionary, but you're looking at other possibilities or increasing margins. And that's the case that we have when we open our media division, our Hispanic media division. And that started, we were looking at businesses that can produce more money with the, investment that we started, and that's what we did. We started with one radio station back in Jacksonville, Florida. And in 12 years now, we are, probably the second largest, Hispanic media, independent Hispanic media company in the United States. We have 30 radio stations, 3 TV stations. We have all the print, digital, all the digital marketing, which is not really the new wave, but really be able to understandably be able to monetize that. So we got this 360 degrees approach in each of the cities that we are. So we're also in the southeast of the United States with this kind of business. But that was really related to looking for businesses that can provide more cash flow, and also, have more barriers of entry, because in those cases, you're related with an FCC license. That's what you're buying, and it's very difficult. It has a scarcity value. So there's not really one frequency that you can open in a city. You have to buy from someone else, But that's the story that we have. It's been great. Georgia Tech for me has been, a tremendous school. Give me the tools, to be able to be in my little world, successful. Because again, there are other people that are being extremely successful. For my, dream to start with basically, $10,000 from a loan, and we this year I think we're pacing, even though with the pandemic, we're pacing about revenues of $170 million as a company. So I'm so blessed to be the CEO. My daughters now are 2 of them. Join the company after graduating, so I'm looking forward for them to take, eventually the reins of the company and continue to contribute to the well-being and the economic growth of our own, people that work in the company, which are my primary, and again, one of the things that I want to just share with you is that, events change your life. Events that happen even in the company can change your life. We recently experienced, some losses, to drug addiction, and also alcoholism, and other, difficult situations, in our coworkers. So we decided to change, our mission, and we added, the spiritual part, officially, in the company, which is, it's kind of rare, for a lot of people, including God, basically in our company. So we did it, and it was a little bit challenging because some people think that you want to change the religion that they are from, but this is really non-denominational, So that's one of the things that it make me very proud. We'd be able to have across the different religions, people that are participant in the spiritual part, within the company. It's been tremendously successful, especially nowadays that we're facing this unprecedented time, which is the pandemic. But we've been blessed, talking about that, we have been able to change very quickly and adapt, all our businesses, to the new way, in dealing with this difficult situation. And I can stay here and talk for in each of the individual companies or divisions of the things that we have done, but honestly, is been very challenging. We have to go back to sometimes to the original design of the businesses to be able to adapt, to these difficult situations, But this is what I wanted to share with you. I really, blessed to be able to have the opportunity to be able to go to Georgia Tech. I'm blessed also to have the opportunity to belong to the kitchen cabinet of President Cabrera, which I'm very, very honored, to be, because he's been a tremendous president in a very short period of time, especially dealing with this pandemic. And he, as we say in Mexico, he took the bull by the horns, and he's been able to, manage that situation. So God bless you, stay safe. But I'm here. It's 3:27. We got 15 minutes for questions if you have any. And again, Giorgio, thank you so much for this invitation. Sara, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here to share my little humble story. Thank you.
Norberto, it sounds been quite enlightening. I think there's no way for you to know that it's not easy to reach a goal that you may have in mind, like being a CEO, until you hear the story of someone who, actually went through it and has done it. And, usually hard goals to achieve are never easy to get. And as I see, you've been through quite a lot. You had to struggle through a lot of things to get through where you are. And I think it's a testament to the hard work that people need to put whenever they actually want to achieve something. And for me, I think it was very clear, the end goal that if you want something, you got to go get it, regardless of, the situation. It may be hard, but there's always a way. And I want to invite people in the chat who are watching in the stage, if you have any questions for Mr. Sanchez, if you want to, ask him about how it's like creating a business, a little bit more about his specific journey, some questions about what he has to do now that he manages a lot of stuff, a lot of media companies, restaurants, so many things. Anything you would like to learn in particular? It is. I think I'm gonna leave a little bit of time for questions. I think there may be people typing. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about now. Personally, I think I do want to ask you something. What resource would you say? Not what a resource. Like, what was the thing that was essential to you being able to be successful? You can say maybe a resource in Georgia Tech, maybe a personal resource like persistence, maybe both. What would you say is necessary?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Giorgio. And again, it's not like you get a book of entrepreneurship or something. I didn't know what entrepreneur is. It was just starting. Something I would say, something that you really like, and when I saw this little restaurant being there, I said, I kind of like, being able to be, talking to people. And, of course, when somebody goes to a restaurant, they're usually in the best of times, because they're happy, they're getting ready to eat and celebrate along with other people, so it is a really nice environment, being able to know. Actually, my only friends that I have, very few, they're customers, or they're former customers, or they're customers, and because that's when I met them, I didn't have a chance to have that many social life, but I think that it was that, being able to have the passion for what you do, and I love to serve, even if I'm in my home, my wife, she says, why don't you sit down? You're always bringing drinks and bringing things, and I say, well, that's, I love to serve, and so, it's having the passion for whatever you do. I think that's one of the important, keys here. Being persistent, I think that's the most important, factor in any entrepreneur. If you look back and you said, hey, don't give up. If you have an idea and that it's a good idea, and it might be you don't have the resources at this time, but don't give up. Just continue, be persistent, and the persistence also has to be measured. It comes with a risk measurement. You got to be sure that if you started, some people might say to us, well, you do very well in everything you do. No, of course not. We have done other things. Give an example, we did some convenience stores that were successful for 5 years and then eventually become not successful. So you have to be persistent, but you need to know, when is the end of the road, and you said that's when you measure the risk and the possibility of continuation, when you measure all these forces around you, competition, the economy, et cetera, et cetera. So so you got to understand, when is, we have closed, units, restaurant units, when you said, this is it, but I think, persistence, being patient, being honest, and that little ingredient, a lot of people talk is being lucky. I don't believe that much on that, but I think that you can actually produce, your luck, to a certain degree, and that's because when you are positive, you're willing to take action, that's the key. I think, if you're willing to take action and you do the proper execution, that's one of the most, that's part of the secrets also of being successful in business. To tell you the truth, when we're doing, for example, these new state houses, what am I looking at? What are we looking at as a team? Well, we're looking to best practices. We go and visit the best operators, not in the US only, but, across the world. We'll go and see what are the best 50 restaurants in the world. What are they doing? Why were they ranked, that way? And we try to copy, or even, if it's possible, improve over those executions and operations and the product offering that they have. So that's how we're becoming more and more successful in a new segment that we never had before, which is fine dining. Fine dining is more difficult to do, because of the proper training that you have to do, just along wines, being able to understand wines and being able to offer wines, different kinds of cordials or even including the different types of the cattle that we offer as steaks. So it is more complicated, but it is possible to do. It is attainable if you do and apply and execute.
Okay, thank you. Also, as an Italian, I will give you a run for your money. I'm gonna go and check it out for myself and see what I think. Give you feedback.
Please do. It started with fresh pasta. That's the key.
That's what I'm most picky about. So we'll see. Yes. We'll see. Okay, so we actually got some questions. The first one is from Alejandro da Silva. He says, "Your path in life took a lot of unexpected turns. What are the guiding principles that helped you decide which paths to take?"
That's also a very good question, and honestly, is well, first of all, you pray a lot, number one, but I think is that being able to take what I told you just before, being able to take a calculated risk, because you have to be sure to evaluate, all the opportunities and these deviations in your life, so you can really have as much information as needed as possible to make the proper decision. I think nowadays, with the data is so available, when you can actually do a complete, market intelligence and business intelligence also right now is so this is the era of knowledge. You got access to all kind of information. Use that information to make those proper decisions. And I think in our case, every step that we do forward in the company is always based in tremendous amount of intelligence, market studies, done very deeply in such a way that we can have the proper information to make at least the probability of having a successful decision. And in my case, if you go back to the original decisions that I took in my life, it was a gut feeling. I was blessed, that God, allowed me to make these elections, And again, it may be that if my company in Mexico didn't face any economic problems, I probably would have been very happy there in Monterrey working for a company, But in my case, it was that, nowadays it is we don't do a change without really proper, getting all the information available, as much information available to make the proper decision, more educated decisions.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Sofia Mendoza. She says, "I am an ME student who's thinking about pursuing graduate studies. Would you say that you applied more concepts from your PhD in ISYE rather than your master's in ME in your entrepreneurship journey?"
Yes, definitely. I'm again, as I told you, I became a IE, and I think that IE is personally, I think that it's a more rounded program depending what you want to do, because you can become I mean, I met CEOs of companies that the only, they did a bachelor in ME, so if it's more applicable, I think, right now in my case, industrial engineering is more, applies to everything, in any kind of business. And so, I mean, if you study, for example, in my case, robotics and ME, yeah, I mean, I can apply my knowledge in this missile guidance system back then, because right now, of course, it will not be relevant. Of course, the technology have changed completely, dramatically. So I would say, that yes, industrial engineering is, but again, it has, in my experience, you need to round it off, with some business courses. Nowadays, you can do it online, you can do whatever you want, in a virtual way now, especially after the pandemic, we'll be able to learn how to do this more efficient way. So I recommend it strongly to round it up, as I've been telling my daughters, to round it up with some business courses. And it may be that you don't need to go to an MBA, but be sure that you take the courses that you need when your career is asking you for, that experience or that knowledge.
Thank you. And our last question so far is, Carlota Hernandez, if you could change anything in your past, what would it be?
I think, the most difficult part is the personal part, is, being able to be with your daughters, when they were little and things like that, so that's kind of sentimental, but it's a difficult part, because when they're little, you want to spend time with them, and, because of my, type of business where I have to be basically late at night and everything like that. But you learn to go around, you learn to, how to, spend working very heavily for some time and then spending some time. But that was the only thing that I would probably regret, that I really would like to spend more time with them when they were little, but that was the fact of life for me, so, that's why my daughters, they're all late nighters, they like to go to bed really late because they're daughters of a restaurateur, so they used to wait for me late at night and everything, but that was the only regret that I would have.
Yeah, it's kind of that philosophy of work now, so you don't have to work later. And sometimes it's good, others it isn't. There's some pros and cons to everything, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't see any more questions. So I think actually that's it I think you were pretty clear with your path, and people don't really have any questions. So far, I just want to say thank you so much, Norberto. I think it was a great presentation. I think I personally learned a lot. I think some people in the chat were also pretty curious about your journey and have also been able to learn a lot.
Oh, thank you, Giorgio. Again, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's an honor, continue to, go through that great school, take advantage of every single moment, because again, those experiences that you have as a student in Georgia Tech, will remain with you forever. And that's where you basically create the foundation of friendships that will last, all your life, so God bless. And thanks for the opportunity to be here with you. Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Good luck.